2020 presidential election coverage starts now. New bombshell out on the New York Post. There's a new sort of October surprise that I suppose probably the Republican Party in this case has released. New York Post tends to be sort of center-right, but here it says revealed Ukrainian executive thanked Hunter Biden for the opportunity to meet the Veep dad. Biden's secret emails. So if these are true, these are going to have something of a major effect on the election. Remember, the Clinton emails in the prior election were a very big part of it. But we have an article here that says that a smoking gun email reveals how Hunter Biden introduced Ukrainian businessman to Vice President Dad. And it continues, Hunter Biden introduced his father, then Vice President Joe Biden, to a top executive at a Ukrainian energy firm, less than a year before the elder Biden pressured government officials in Ukraine into firing a prosecutor who was investigating the company, according to emails obtained by the Post. The never-before-revealed meeting is mentioned, it says here, in a message of appreciation that Vadim Pozarsky, an advisor to the board of Burisma, allegedly sent Hunter Biden on April 17, 2015, about a year after Hunter joined the Burisma board, at a reported salary of up to $50,000 a month. So, I mean, if this story is true, that's a big deal, because what it suggests is that there is some collusion then between, the person running to be the president of the United States on the Democrat side, namely Joe Biden, his son, and a core Ukrainian official. And given that the Russia collusion story is one of the main weaknesses in the Trump narrative, this sort of balances the board there, because now Trump's being alleged to collude with Russia. But here you have some evidence, if it's true, that Hunter's actually colluding with Ukraine, which isn't Russia, but it's another sort of rogue state. I mean, obviously, Ukraine wouldn't characterize itself as a rogue state, but from a Western perspective, it's a rogue state. It says here in the email, Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. It's really an honor and pleasure, the email reads. An earlier email from May 2014 also shows Pozarsky, reportedly Burisma's number 3 executive, asking Hunter for, quote, advice on how you could use your influence on the company's behalf. The blockbuster correspondence, which flies in the face of Joe Biden's claim that he's never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings, is contained in a massive trove of data recovered from a laptop computer, allegedly. So, for example, here's an email from Vadim Pozarsky that they allege to Hunter Biden, hbiden at rosemontseneca.com. Meeting for coffee is the subject. Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. It's really an honor and pleasure. As we spoke yesterday evening, would be great to meet today for a quick coffee. What do you think? I could come to your office somewhere around noon or so, before or on my way to the airport. Best, Vadim, from his iPhone. So the computer was dropped off at a repair shop in Biden's home state in Delaware in April 2019, according to the store owner. It shows Hunter, who's admitted to struggling with drugs, engaged in a series of crimes. The customer who brought in the water-damaged MacBook Pro for repair never paid the service or retrieved it or a hard drive on which its contents were stored, according to the shop owner, who he said repeatedly tried to contact the client. The shop owner couldn't positively identify the customer as Hunter Biden, but said the laptop bore a sticker from the Beau Biden Foundation, named after Hunter's late brother and former Delaware Attorney General. Photos of a Delaware federal subpoena given to the Post show that both the computer and hard drive were seized by the FBI in December, after the shop's owner says he alerted the feds to their existence. And so here you have a subpoena, United States District Court. You are commanded to appear in the U.S. District Court at the time, date, and place shown below to testify before the court's grand jury. When you arrive, you must remain at the court until a judge or a court officer allows you to leave. You must also bring with you the following documents: electronically stored information or objects. In lieu of an appearance, please see an attachment, blah, 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 blah. There's the federal subpoena showing the computer and hard drive were seized by the FBI. Okay, so that seems to suggest, I mean, unless this is not real, that there was a laptop that was actually seized. So if it's true, this is going to be a major turning point in the election, I think, because it makes that corruption on the Democrat candidate seem more plausible to at least to the voters. But before turning over the gear, the shop owner says he made a copy of the hard drive and later gave it to former Mayor Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, Robert Costello. That is just okay. Fair enough. That's just weird. Steve Bannon, former advisor to President Trump, told the Post about the existence of the hard drive in late September, and Giuliani provided the Post with a copy of it on Sunday. Less than 8 months after Pozharskyi thanked Hunter Biden for the introduction to his dad, the then vice president admittedly pressured Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko and Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk into getting rid of the Prosecutor General Viktor Shorkin by threatening to withhold a $1 billion U.S. loan guarantee during a December 2015 trip to Kiev. Quote, "I looked at them and said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money," Biden infamously bragged to the Council on Foreign Relations in 2018. Well, swear word, he got fired. Shokin said that at the time of his firing in March 2016, he'd made, quote, "specific plans to investigate Burisma that included interrogations and other crime investigation procedures into all members of the executive board, including Hunter Biden." Joe Biden has insisted that the U.S. wanted Shokin removed over corruption concerns, which were shared by the European Union. Meanwhile, an email dated May 12, 2014, shortly after Hunter Biden joined the Burisma board, shows Pozharskyi attempting to get him to use his political leverage to help the company. The message had the subject line "urgent issue" and was also sent to Hunter Biden's business partner, Devon Archer, who also sat on the Burisma board at the time. So this looks like it's an email, and I will read the email for you guys. So it looks like it's from Vadim Pozharskyi. Obviously, all of this stuff could just have been made up. So we have to, just because a new piece of news comes out and it's been vetted by one newspaper doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So we have to read it and make up our own minds on this. But it's to Devon Archer and Hunter Biden, the same Rosamond Seneca email. It says, "Dear Hunter and Devon, following our talks during the visit to the Como Lake and our further discussions, I would like to bring the following situation to your attention. As previously pointed out on a number of occasions, the representatives of new authorities in power tend to be quite aggressively approaching New Zealand unofficially with the aim to obtain cash from him." I guess it's not New Zealand then, it's some guy called NZ. Initially, it was done by the representatives of Savadba Party in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. These so-called unofficial communications would entail blackmailing. In case we don't cooperate, i.e. provide money in cash, the gas production business of NZ would be stopped, destroyed, etc. It's important to note that the Savadba Party is represented by the government of the General Prosecutor and by the Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources of Ukraine. The last organ, together with the State Geological and Subsurface Survey of Ukraine, which is directly subordinated to the Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources of Ukraine, are principal regulators in the area of issuing licenses for natural resources and control. After unsuccessful attempts to receive funds from our side, they proceeded with concrete actions. So far, we got information through unofficial channels that one or more pre-trial proceedings were initiated by the Ministry of Internal Affairs with regard to Burisma Holdings companies that are heavily engaged in gas production and happen to be our holdings as key companies. Okay, so he's claiming here that the board that Biden is alleged to sit on, Burisma, is heavily engaged in gas production in Ukraine and happens to be sort of the key portfolio of that company. The Ministry of Internal Affairs, contacted by the Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources and the State Geological and Subsurface Survey of Ukraine, they contacted them to obtain all documents concerning licenses issued since 2006 until now to the companies of our holding. Apart from that, they would unofficially approach our partners, clients, suppliers, trying to intimidate them to stop working with our companies. These are typical instruments to destabilize business. We urgently need your advice on how you could use your influence to convey a message-signal to stop what we consider to be politically motivated actions, bearing in mind the following. Burisma Holdings is a leader among private gas producers. Okay, I didn't know that. There you go. Our primary client is ArcelorMittal, Ukraine's biggest metal steel plant. We cover more than 60% of its gas needs. Our clients and their production are largely dependent on our work and our ability to perform our contractual obligations. We employ hundreds of employees, etc. Negative influence on our companies may result in multi-level negative social, economical, and political consequences. Please advise. Looking forward to your reply, Vadim Pozharskyi. So again, I want to emphasize, okay, that you can't just read random articles online and smear a political party. Okay, so I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that this is some news that's come out. Obviously, if 3 days prior to the election a bunch of fake news comes out smearing, I don't know, whatever, Biden further, or smearing Trump, you have to be very careful. with this stuff. I mean, obviously on the surface it appears to be true, because this is a lot of work to just make up an email like this. This takes like 2 hours to make up if you were to do that, I would think. You know, there's a lot of text in there. But it looks correct. Pozharskyi said that, quote, the representatives of the new authorities in power tend to quite aggressively approach NZ unofficially with the aim of obtaining cash from him. NZ isn't identified in the email, but appears to be a reference to Burisma founder Mykola Zlochevsky, whose first name is a Ukrainian version of Nicholas. Okay. So Nicholas Zlochevsky is what they mean by NZ. When the alleged shakedown failed, quote, they proceeded with concrete actions in the form of one or more pre-trial proceedings, Pozharskyi wrote. We urgently need your advice on how you could use your influence to convey a message or signal, etc., to stop what we consider to be politically motivated actions, he added. Hunter Biden responded by saying he was working with Archer in Doha, Qatar, and asked for any more information about the formal, if any, accusations being made against Burisma. Who is ultimately behind these attacks on the company? Who in the current interim government could put an end to such attacks, he added. The exchange came the same day that Burisma announced that it had expanded its board of directors by adding Hunter Biden, who was put in charge of its, quote, legal unit and will provide support for the company among international organizations. According to a news release that's since been scrubbed from the Burisma website, Hunter Biden actually joined the board in April 2014, according to multiple reports. His lawyer said that Hunter was, quote, not a member of the management team, adding at no time was Hunter in charge of the company's legal affairs. About 4 months after Hunter Biden's correspondence with Pozharskyi, Archer forwarded Hunter Biden an email chain with the subject line, Tax Raise Impact on Burisma Production, which included Pozharskyi saying that the Ukrainian cabinet had submitted a new tax legislation to the country's parliament. And there's some images sort of over here of the Biden family. Here they are in Rome. And there they are. And that's all the images. If enacted, quote, this law would kill the entire private gas production sector in the bud, Pozharskyi wrote. In September 24, 2014 email, Pozharskyi also said that he was, quote, going to share this information with the U.S. Embassy here in Kiev, as well as the office of Mr. Amos Hochstein in the States. At the time, Hochstein was the State Department's newly appointed Special Envoy and Coordinator for International Energy Affairs. And this is Devin Archer. In December 2016, the Naftogaz Group, Ukraine's state-owned energy company, announced that Hochstein had joined the company as an independent director, but on Monday he announced his resignation. Quote, the company has been forced to spend endless amounts of time combating political pressure and efforts by oligarchs to enrich themselves through questionable transactions, Hochstein wrote in an op-ed published by the Kiev Post. In addition to denying that he's spoken to Hunter Biden about his overseas business dealings, Joe Biden has repeatedly denied any conflict of interest or wrongdoing by either of them involving Burisma. Last February, he got testy during an appearance on NBC's Today Show when co-host Savannah Guthrie questioned whether it was, quote, wrong for Hunter to take that position, knowing that it was really because that company wanted access to you. Quote, well, that's not true. You're saying things you don't know what you're talking about, the elder Biden responded. Okay, and here's some more images of Hunter Biden, I suppose. I guess just smoking. Okay. Last December, Joe Biden also lashed out during a Democratic primary town hall event in Iowa when a man accused him of sending Hunter to Ukraine to, quote, get a job and work for a gas company that he had no experience with gas or nothing in order to get access to the president. Quote, you're a liar, man. That's not true, and no one's ever said that, Biden fumed. Biden then continued berating the man as he stepped forward, calling the man fat, and then challenging them to do push-ups together, man. Did this really happen? Okay. The FBI, this feels like fake news. The FBI referred questions about its seizure of the laptop and hard drive to the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office, where a spokesman said, quote, my office can neither confirm nor deny the existence of an investigation. Hunter Biden's lawyer refused to comment on the specifics, but instead attacked Giuliani. Quote, he has been pushing widely discredited conspiracy theories about the Biden family, openly relying on actors tied to Russian intelligence, the lawyer. George R. Mazares said of Giuliani. So Pozharskyi and Joe Biden campaign did not return requests for comment. Hochstein could not be reached. Well, I mean, if this was fake, don't you think they'd have said, that's fake? But they just didn't say anything. But this story is going to probably get bigger I mean, if it's real, it's going to get a lot bigger toward Election Day. But, you know, I don't think Facebook or Twitter think it's real because they've been banning any sharing of this story. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I'll leave it up to you, the viewer, to decide. I assume my audience is very intelligent and can work this out. So tell me in the comment section below, what do you think? Is this real? Is this fake? Is it just sort of a, you know, I remember in the last election, there was a dossier going around about Trump, and he claimed it was fake. Is this just another one of those? Is it real? And if it is, if you think it's real, is this going to seriously impact the election? I think if you think it's real, this has to seriously impact the election because it suggests that, you know, there are financial ties here that would be extremely serious for the President of the United States to be involved in. I mean, if they're being bribed by the Ukraine, this isn't good, you know, and then it begs the question, well, who else are they being bribed with? But so that's the New York Post's take. I know exactly half my audience is going to vehemently disagree with this take, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was informative, it told you something new about the news for the day, and if you did, give it a like, give it a follow, give it a subscribe, and post something in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.